Welcome back. Now, what we want to talk about are two areas, well, three actually. First thing we're going to look at is some of the key decisions that retailers face. The second thing we'll talk about is service in retail because it's a key part of what retailing's about. That's much different than most of the other marketing we're taking a look at. And then the last thing we'll take a look at are some of the trends in retail right now. So let's start with what are some key retail decisions that you have to consider? Well, the first one is whether you're online or store based. So, whether you're non store or store based retailer, minimizing wait times. Consumers hate to wait. And time, you've heard the old adage about, watch pot never boils, time fly, or time flies when you're having fun. Time is relative. When consumers come in and want to buy something, time seems to drag. So if you can come up with a way to make things quicker, that works every time. In Walmart's case, what they would do is they'd open up extra lanes so you can cash out. Or better yet, they put in the self-service lanes so you can check out at your own speed. Okay? A lot of grocery stores have gone the same way because people don't like standing in line waiting to cash out. Sometimes it's just what's called balk out of the purchase. They just walk away and leave their cart. That's a bit of a problem for some retailers that they've had to deal with. Okay. So if you're online, you want to minimize wait times as well. So we try and make the process quicker. Okay. So Amazon was the first into this. They came up with, you can purchase in a couple of clicks. Today we make it quicker by allowing you to save your profile and your payment so that when you're ready to buy, you can just click on it. On my iPhone, all I have to do is double click and it'll make a purchase. And a lot of what I've got is set up based upon facial recognition. It makes the purchasing so much smoother, and that's what consumers are looking for. The second thing is managing your service capacity. Okay, you want to make sure that you've got the right number of people to deliver the right level of service at any given time. You don't want too few, because if you've got too few, people are going to be waiting, which you don't want. And if you've got too many, then you've got staff standing around doing nothing that are costing you money. And that's going to eat into your profits. So what you want to do is manage your capacity. Places like McDonald's are expert at that. Walmart's the same way. They can pretty much anticipate at any given time of the day within a very tight tolerance, maybe 5%, how many customers are likely to come in and what they're going to be buying. And that allows them to have the right people on board to service that. For McDonald's, that means the right number of people on the cooking line so that people aren't waiting 5 minutes to get their Big Mac. Okay? They're waiting a relatively short minute. Okay? And if they're going through the drive-through, everything's timed to go through that drive-through. So by the time the person gets to that third window, order at the first, pay at the second, pick up at the third, by the time you get to that window, your food's ready and it's hot and you take it and you go. Okay? Everything's geared to that. Walmart's the same way. They want to make sure they've got enough people on the floor to keep the floor stocked and the place clean, but not that many that people are wondering what to do because, again, it ruins their economics. You're also looking at improving self-delivery. Okay? So the big trend now is what can we do to get people to deliver things themselves? So if you order online or order at a kiosk, that's perfect because now it's going to be self-delivered to you. It's drop shipped to you. Okay, perfect. Okay, and the last thing is they're trying to come up with a channel-wide coherent structure. So in the old days, I remember seeing this Fortune magazine cover in the height of the .com era. They pictured the CEO of Sears on one side and the CEO of Sears online on the other side. The CEO of Sears looked like a CEO. Older, cropped hair, suit, dark suit, white shirt, red tie. Okay? The online guy, young guy, longer hair, blue jeans, casual shirt. Well, we used to think of online and traditional as two different channels. Now we realize they're the same. We have to provide the same experience. So one of the things we're seeing is we're making sure that whether you buy online in person, over the phone, at a kiosk, uh, whatever way you buy, your experience is exactly the same. Because if it's not, then we're creating uncertainty in your mind as a consumer, and you might not buy from us again. Or worse, you might not make that particular purchase. Retail, because it's the last stop when you're facing the consumer, has a lot more failures in it, service failures, where the consumer's not happy, than other forms of marketing. Now, in the old days, this is like, when dinosaurs roamed the earth, sometimes referred to as the 1990s, service was looked at as a cost. And we try and minimize the cost by standardizing service so that things couldn't go wrong. Well, customers really didn't like that too much. They don't like all being treated the same. And as we've seen in the evolution of marketing, people want to be treated very differently. So now what we realize is we have to provide a level of service the consumer expects based upon everything we've done, so we don't have any of those gaps we talked about in the services chapter. And if there is a problem, we need to act fast, because again, people hate to wait. So we try and minimize the gap, act fast. The other big change we made is, instead of seeing service as a cost, we now see it as an opportunity. Because we know psychologically that if somebody has a bad experience and we quickly correct it and they're happy, they're going to be a much more loyal customer than anybody who's never had a problem. And they'll evangelize for us. They'll tell their friends. Now, in the age of social media, that's what you want. You want them to go out and tell their friends about what you're doing. Okay. So we want to treat the failure as an opportunity. So customer has a bad experience. Let's use a restaurant. That's an easy one to understand. You order your steak medium. It comes out well done. Okay. You have a problem. Now, sadly, only about a very small proportion, I was going to say 10%, I think it's a bit higher than that, but a very small proportion of consumers complain. Okay. Some of them suck it up, then they go home and write a bad Yelp review. Okay. That then is read by the company and they have to recover from it. All right. They can do that. Social media has made that a lot easier. The other thing, though, is if you have a bad experience, you're likely to tell more people than if you have a good experience. So what you want to do is, if you've got a problem, you need the manager to come out, or the server, best if it's the server, to start off with and say, I understand, I'm being empathetic. Okay, they don't say I'm being empathetic, but you want them to be empathetic with the customer. You want them to say, that was a mistake, it was our fault, we'll correct it. And then you want to do something for the customer to make up for the time they've lost. Because again, customers are impatient. Okay. If you're on the product side, and we're starting to see some changes in this, there have been several articles about return policies. The old adage was you wanted a liberal return policy. Well, retailers like Amazon are finding that that's a bit of a problem, because people will buy stuff, they'll buy 15 items but only want 2, and then they'll send the other 13 back, and it's because they didn't like the color, or they didn't like something about the item. There was nothing wrong with the item, it was just they were picking and choosing. And that was one of the big problems with the .com era, but we won't go there. Okay, so if you've got a liberal return policy, that's good for the consumer. It's a bit expensive for you. That's why what we're seeing today is retailers like Amazon, Best Buy, I think, is doing this as well. They're identifying kind of problem customers, and after a while, the liberal return policy isn't so liberal anymore, and you'll get charged something like a restocking fee, 10% of the value to put it back into the system, so they make sure it's good to sell again, essentially. But you want to make sure it's easy for customers to return things, because if it's not, that tends to upset them. Again, it's a time issue. Okay. Whenever you recover from one of these things, you want to make sure that you give them something for the next purchase, because you want to encourage them to come back so you can show them it was a one-time mistake. All right. So what else do we want to look at? Well, let's take a look at trends and advancements in retail. There are 4 that we want to take a look at. One is big data analytics. Retailers collect a lot of information about you. Sometimes you don't even know they're collecting the information because they're tapping into your mobile phone because you've got your protection set. Yeah, you can track me, or you've got your privacy levels set very low, so they can find out all sorts of things. They can tap in to see where you were last. They can follow you even after the fact, see where you're going next if you're attached to a Wi-Fi, and you've allowed them to send you notifications when you're not in the store. All right. What that's allowed though is they've collected all this information, big data. Okay. They know what you bought, when you bought it, where you bought it, how you bought it. They might even record why you bought it. Okay. They might record who are you with when you bought it. They can record all sorts of stuff on you. Sephora, for example, collects 19,000 pieces of data on a customer. So not only do they record what you bought, but they record what size you bought. What did you buy it with? What time of the month did you buy it? Or what time of the year did you buy it? Can they pattern you in any way, shape, or form? That's big data. What we're looking to do with that as a retailer are find patterns we can use to better determine products to sell, price points to use, promotions to get to you, okay, and how to set up our location. So all of that big data we're collecting allows us to better suit consumers. On the opposite side, and this takes us back to our ethics chapter, are we becoming too powerful? Do we know too much about the consumer? Is there any privacy left? Those are questions that are going to be answered as we go along because we're collecting more and more data. The latest thing is facial recognition. We can identify consumers as soon as our customers as soon as they come in based upon facial recognition. The Chinese are using that in their stores. It's only a matter of time before we see it here. And cost, because it's probably pretty expensive. Okay? Beacons. Well, that takes you back to your smartphone again. What we can do as a retailer, this isn't a grocery store, is if you're walking down an aisle and we've got a product we think you want to buy, we can send you a notice saying, hey, ping your phone, give you a text message saying you might be interested in this product, which happens to be 5 feet ahead of you on the right-hand side, third shelf. Okay? That's one area. We're seeing that also in services. I saw that at a barbershop I used to go to in Austin, Texas, where they'd set that beacons up to tell students they existed. And they were finding students who'd gone to UT for 4 years and didn't know they were passing by a barbershop every day to class. That just tells you how much time they're spending on their mobile phone. All right, RFID tags. That's going to be a game changer. Right now, every product's got a UPC on it. UPCs are dumb codes, right? They have to be read by a scanner. And basically all they tell us is what the product is, okay? They can tell us the product name, size, manufacturer. RFID codes are going to change things. They can hold 30 pieces of information at a minimum. So we can track the time of day it was produced. Better if we have to do a recall, go back to that customer service component. See, it all comes together. We can track what the consumer does with it at the end because we could tie into a city's recycling program or the dump and track when that product goes in, see how they dispose of it. Are they being environmentally conscious or not? Inside the store, if you move a product from one location to another, it has a UPC code, nothing happens. The employee, usually overnight, goes around, finds the products that are in the wrong places, puts them back in the right places. RFID codes, yeah, it's a thing of the past. You'll know exactly where every product is. Easier for anti-theft devices as well. Okay, so RFID codes store more information, which tells us more about the consumer, but also offers a variety of inventory management options, improvements, a lot of security improvements. It's a much better option than your UPC codes. And last but not least, facial recognition. I touched on that one. Facial recognition is coming. You're going to walk into a store and they'll instantly know you're there, and they'll be able to know what kind of customer you are. And using that old Pareto analysis and that customer service stuff we talked about, CRM stuff we talked about, you'll get the level of service that is based upon the type of consumer you are. So facial recognition is coming. How do they collect a lot of this stuff? Well, we do it kind of two ways. One is shopper marketing, and we use market data to better serve the customers. We collect a point of sale. So every time you scan something, we collect scanner data. We talked about how Nielsen collects that, grocery stores collect that, Walmart collects that. That's all part of that big data analytics piece. You want to slice and dice it, as they say, and find the best way to reach consumers. Okay. We also do shopper analytics. We'll bring shoppers in and we'll do research studies on them, much like we talked about in the marketing research chapter. Some of those are focus groups, some of those are panels. Sometimes we don't even bring them in, we do them online. But what we're looking for is their attitudes, their perceptions, the emotions. We can even go further than that. We can wire consumers up when they're going through the store. We can read their brain waves and see what they're doing. We can watch their retinas to see what they're looking at. All of this is designed so we can make sure their shopping experience is better. Okay? So we're seeing more and more data and more analytics coming into play. So that brings us to the last topic of the day, and that's what's the future? Well, retail is changing. Probably the biggest area we see retail changing right now is all the stores closing, malls closing, okay? We've changed the way we shop as consumers. In the 80s, it was not unusual to spend a couple hours a week shopping. Today, nobody would think about spending that amount of time. I think we're down to like 20 minutes of shopping time per week, okay? We're different. We have other things to do. We have other forms of entertainment. Shopping at one point was a major form of entertainment. Today, not so much. We've got streaming. We've got live stuff to do, all right? So, what's happening? Well, biggest change we're seeing is what's called, or one of the big changes we're seeing, it's not the biggest, one of the changes we're seeing is called showrooming. Best Buy is really leading this. Best Buy knows that they get a lot of customers coming in, looking at a product, getting all the information they can from the sales rep, and then going online and buying the product. To get around that, what they're doing now is they're selling space to the manufacturers, teaching the employees all about the products. So Samsung buys space. You go into Best Buy, you're looking for a new fridge. The wonderful Best Buy employee will tell you everything they know about a Samsung fridge. They'll get you into the perfect Samsung fridge, and then they'll send you on your way to buy it online. Now, that might be through their own kiosk system. They'll go, if you'd like to buy it, you can go right over there and type it in, and it'll purchase it for you, or I can do it for you. Or you can buy it wherever you want. Okay? But what they're doing is we're merging kind of the traditional with more of that mobile based. So we're seeing those coming together in that showrooming concept. The omnification, treating every channel the same so the consumer has the same experience, that's big right now. That's probably the most mainstream change we're seeing. That's why Amazon is now offering hard locations or bricks and mortar locations. And all the bricks and mortar guys are trying to beef up their online side. If you're looking for the big battle, it's Walmart versus Amazon. Walmart's pushing online, Amazon's pushing offline, and they're trying to come up with the perfect way to get to consumers so they can capture the maximum share of the wallet of people that are spending money. Click and collect is another one. You know, in the old days, you wanted to buy something, you online, you ordered it, 3 to 5 days later, FedEx, UPS, or USPS delivered it to you. Now what you can do is, if you live in certain cities, you can order it in the morning and Amazon will deliver it to you in the afternoon. Or, and this is a more common one, click and collect. Buy it online, go pick it up in the store. Walmart allows that. Grocery stores allow that. What that does is it provides the convenience of those old bricks and mortar locations with an online side. So if you're a retailer, that's great because now you don't have to write off all those bricks and mortar locations. You can essentially use them as a distribution center, a consumer distribution center. So that's click and collect. Artificial intelligence and virtual reality, well, we're just getting into those. As you go through your career, you're going to see more and more of that. You're going to see more and more AI being used. AI to predict how consumers react. AI to read the shelves, especially as we go to an RFID system. AI to figure out what products to develop. And virtual reality will allow us to test out new concepts, whether it's for product shape, whether it's for store layout, for whatever it is. Virtual reality will allow us to do that much, much easier. The biggest thing in virtual reality is when we allow people to figure out how to try on clothes effectively, how to feel the material without actually physically touching it by using AR, then we'll have a perfect system. Okay, I put a couple more videos in for you today on AI and AR and retail. Enjoy those, and I will talk to you tomorrow.